Have you seen any of the
Madison, Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Jim Rutledge and Pablo Iglesias, outfitted by Iron Jock Apparel, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines. Can they catch him? No! The Badgers answer instantly. There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game. Gordon again! Inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line.
Yes! It's over. The Wisconsin Badgers win 17-9. They are the first Big Ten team ever to win successive Rose Bowl games.
That is the best college sports town in America.
This is the Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show. Special time, 2 o'clock here today on a Wednesday. We're normally on at 12:30 on a Thursday, but we have a lot of special programming on Thursday with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Washington Commanders, so we bumped it up a day. We'll be joined by Sojourn Shelton a little bit later in the show, but as always, I'm joined by Pablo Iglesias in the Everlight Soldier studio.
Hello.
I am Jim Rutledge, and let's jump into it, if you will, Pablo.
Let's do it. Come on, man. I'm ready to go.
I want to get your main takeaway, and Riley, you can hop in on this as well, for the Badgers' victory over Middle Tennessee State. And I'll say the first half, in a kind of a glass half empty, the first half was horrible.
Yes,
it was bad. There was nothing good about it. Second half, Danny O'Neal setting records, throwing the ball over the field, Lance Mason making plays, Tretch, Vinny, Ballard all getting big plays. Running game never really got going, but I would say my biggest takeaway for 2 weeks in a row, kudos to Jeff Grimes for making great halftime adjustments. That's the Badgers offensive coordinator. I thought he did a great job. And the Badgers defense, yeah, after an ugly turnover, they kind of allowed a kind of a surprise touchdown. But overall, I think the Badgers defense was pretty close to as good as they were against Miami of Ohio.
You hit it on the nose. The vibes were not vibing at halftime, Jim. It was you hearing it from the press box, heard a bunch of boos from the home crowd. You never want that. And then Middle Tennessee said this on the postgame show when I called in on Wisconsin College Game Day is you saw Middle Tennessee jumping around for joy heading into the locker room, and you just don't want that. So kudos to the Badgers, like you said, and kudos to Jeff Grimes for having that attack and being able to turn it around and being able to walk away with that dominating win and take over in the second half. But it was just a strange game, and Luke Fickell said it too. It was a tale of two halves. I know that it's just been said on and on. My biggest takeaways, though, at least from just seeing how Danny O'Neal and Lance Mason, two guys that are transfers, and yes, this we've seen over the last couple of years how these transfers have just not gelled as much as we'd hoped. Like they're former 4-star recruits, whatever the case could be, but just not gelling. Whereas here, it felt like not even just from the quarterback room, but other positions across the board, is that not only were they trying to recruit guys of high talent, but they were also trying to recruit talented players that have had college football experience. You saw Lance Mason, a guy whose first time he's ever played in the FBS school. He played years at FCS, and now on the FBS side, getting to shine in a position that right now the Badgers are just hurting at tight end. It was cool to see Lance Mason come out with 102 yards and a tutty in that one. And also with Danny O'Neal again. The fact that I was shocked actually when I heard it in the press box that he ended up breaking the record for most passing yards in a Badger quarterback debut. That was awesome. And just another point too, and even saying that he spoke up in the locker room, saying to guys that this is not Wisconsin football. If you have the moxie and you've only been playing in this Badger uniform for 2 games, if you have the moxie to say right off the bat, we are not playing Wisconsin football, you try to hold guys accountable as a guy who is just learning so many different things right off the bat, I think that speaks volumes right now.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway, Pablo, you just said most of it. Danny O'Neal proved he can win football games. He can sling the pill. He can run that offense. He was confident, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing if that confidence can carry over against a much better opponent in Alabama.
Speaking of Alabama, we are going to go with a half full, half empty sort of look at the Alabama game. So the idea is half full. How are the Badgers going to win? Half empty. How are the Badgers going to lose? Pablo, I'll go first here. I think the Badgers, if they're going to win, it's going to be that second half momentum in the passing game. I don't mean those same sort of numbers. I just mean the efficiency. The running game has to get on track. That means the offensive line has to get on track after some shuffling the first 2 weeks, and the defense has to maintain its intensity. I'm not saying keeping Alabama out of the end zone for the whole game or only allowing one touchdown. I'm saying the defense has to play the same intensity and the same level of passion and the same level of creativity from Tressel as a defensive coordinator. Offensively, they're going to need Grimes needs to react before halftime. He's done a great job with halftime adjustments. They might have to adjust faster. I think the more they can make easy throws for Danny and allow the playmakers to make plays in space and just trust your playmakers are good enough, I think that'll be great. But most importantly, the offensive line has to be dominant and has to be able to run the football to allow the team to run the football. And the Badgers have to have, I would say, over 150 yards rushing to win that game. For the flip side of it, half empty, the Badgers tail two halves. That's been them for so many times against Penn State, against USC. They'll play a half a game. They can't finish a game or they start a game slowly. And if that happens with Alabama, it's over, especially with the starting the slowly part of it. If they come out after halftime and all of a sudden are flat like they've looked in other games, that's not going to do it. If Danny O'Neal looks overwhelmed, that's not going to do it. So some of those things that I'm saying that won't work are obviously flipped to the positive side of it. But for me, the Badgers will lose this game if they're the same inconsistent team they've been for most of Luke Fickell's era, and that's what he needs to change for them to win this game. Is the team's got to play consistent football from start to finish.
There's one play that sticks out to me for both how it could be a half full, half empty, and it was the Badgers defense stopping Middle Tennessee on that fourth down that ended up actually getting reviewed and pushed back an extra yard, and the Badgers ended up getting that stop and went on to score, I believe it was 21 unanswered from there. That was a huge momentum swing. So I would say on the half full side, if you get that big stop, you get a turnover, you cause something to have some type of disruption at Alabama, that is already going to be a hard place. We know what it's going to be like at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm excited to see what Riley Yauk is going to be heading down to Tuscaloosa, what stories he's going to have. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see. If there's an upset, I'm probably a little bit more on the skeptic side, but we'll see. We'll see. But from the half-full side of that is if you cause some disruption, if you cause some type of, if you get in Alabama's face and get that turnover, get that play, make some type of gritty effort and get that and cause some momentum from there, that's awesome. But also, to your point, too, with the half-empty side, that happened in the second half. That happened at a point where you needed to convert, where you needed the defense to come through. So, as you said, if you start out slow, this has been a problem, it feels like, over the last couple of years with Luke Fickell teams, and even, honestly, sometimes with the Paul Chryst teams, too, is that these teams just cannot get it going right off the bat. So you need to start off fast, or, heck, you just at least got to try to keep up with the pace. I'm not saying that Wisconsin needs to boat race and just sprint as fast as you possibly can right out of the gates, but at least keep it consistent, at least keep it a game. Because, again, if you're relying on a play where it's you're down bad and you need to try to get this on a fourth down try, then that's where it gets a little tricky. So my half full is, hey, that play can cause momentum. It's about how you answer after a play like that, but also on the half empty side, if you are in that specific type of situation that late in the game, that's going to be a tough one for me.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking the Badgers are going to win. First of all, I think this game's going to be played in the trenches. Like, it's kind of a cliche, but the offensive and defensive lines are going to dictate who wins this game. Badgers need to win up front. I think, though, I'm going to focus on the defensive side for both my half full and half empty. Half full, Badgers will win if they get a good pass rush. We've seen it against Middle Tennessee. We've seen it against Miami of Ohio. Bama really has struggled to run the football so far this season. So if they can stop that rushing attack, force Ty Simpson to throw, and then you desperately need a pass rush. If Ryan Williams has 4+ seconds to run a route, I'm sorry, even Ricardo Hallman is not going to be able to cover him. If Simpson can just sit back, pat the ball, and wing it to Ryan Williams, who will be playing this weekend, Badgers will be in trouble. But with a pass rush, I think if they harass them, they will win this football game. And I guess I already kind of spoiled it, but my half empty, if they don't get a pass rush, if Ty Simpson has time to throw, if Ryan Williams gets open, they're cooked. We saw the secondary get pasted last week by Middle Tennessee. It's not going to look pretty if Bama is able to sling the pill effectively. So that's what I'm thinking. And I don't think Alabama thinks too highly of the Wisconsin defense either. I have a guy from Alabama that I met when I went to the SEC baseball championships who's trying to sell me tickets. His name's Gary. He called me the other night.
Networking goes a long way.
It does.
You'll love to see
he was trying to sell me some last-minute tickets. We already bought them. It's whatever. And I answer the phone. I'm like, sorry, no. And then he's like, yeah, well, looking forward to seeing you down here anyways. And, man, Wisconsin, they got more holes in their defense than Swiss cheese. And I'm like, well, we'll see, Gary.
Nice
but
cheese reference.
They're not I don't think they're going to be scared of this defense. So Wisconsin needs to give them something to be afraid of if they want to win.
I agree. I love all those takes, especially the Southern accent. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Talk like that for the rest of the show.
Maybe.
The next thing we have, Barry Alvarez, who made some news with the Badgers might be favored going to this game. No. Is it 20.5? Is that the line
moved,
for Bama?
It moved up to 21.5.
Yes,
21.5 for Bama.
Lots of money on Bama.
Opened at 19.5, has now gone up to 21.5. Just
I would say this. I think the Badgers can cover. I just don't like their chances to win. I mean, if you cover, at least normally if you cover, you got a chance. But if you cover 21, is not. That's not much of a cover.
If they don't cover 21.5, I will be thoroughly disappointed.
We did look at the USC game last year, and I think Wisconsin came in as a 15.5, and I thought they at least covered a no. Unfortunately, yeah, that became a runaway fast. I think last week too, it was either only the second or third game in the Luke Fickell era that the Badgers were. This is in the favorite column where they were at least 10 or more points. The Badgers they've been favored a lot by a few scores, and it was just the second or third win, I think, in the Luke Fickell era when they're favored by at least 2 scores. So we'll see. We'll see how things go against the spread.
Let's get to Barry.
Coach, where do you start when you're talking with your team throughout the week about what that competitive advantage may be?
You find it, whatever it is. You make it up. You may have to lift up the rug. You may have to look around the corner. You find out. You figure something out where you have an advantage. I'm looking at Alabama. And my whole thing was you're not playing Joe Namath, and you're not playing all those great Alabama teams in the past. You're not playing the national champions and all that. You're playing the cats that show up, the guys you're watching on film. That's who you're playing. So don't make this bigger than what it is. It's a good team. You have to respect them. You're playing on the road. It's a hostile environment. That's okay. We're going to do that all year. But don't make this bigger than what it is. Don't make them better than who they are. You watch films. You can evaluate who they are, what you have to do to compete against them.
Great coach speak there from Alvarez, and I mean that complimentary, that you can tell that's a message he's delivered over the years to his team game in and game out. It's a message that obviously Tarek Sal and Derek Engler, who are hosting with him, have listened to and embrace, and I think it's an important message there from Barry. I don't love the Badgers' chances in this game, but I like Barry's mentality. I like that. Hopefully that's the mentality Luke Fickell takes in, but I wanted to spin it to this from a fan's perspective, because Barry said you're not playing history. Right. But from a fan's perspective, you are going to witness history. And Riley, you're going down there. I know some different friends that are going down there. And the question was posed to me, or they kind of told me, like, hey, I'd rather go see the Badgers lose by 15 or 20 to Alabama in Alabama than, like, watching neutral site Notre Dame Alabama game at Notre Dame or Alabama. They want to at least see their team play, even if their team doesn't have a chance to win, or even if they do lose. So I thought that was a very interesting take. I think I get it. Tuscaloosa and Alabama, the actual program, are impressive. So I'm not surprised by it, but it was something I hadn't thought about before, Pablo.
Yeah, it's one comparison to, what was it, last season. I mean, I know Wisconsin ran away with this one, but it's also the Northwestern, temporary stadium too. You want to at least go see that, like just to see what the lakeside looks like. But yeah, Barry's mindset too and all that, I think it's great. But I would totally, hopefully, it would be great to see Wisconsin pull out this win. It would be awesome to see this all happen. But at the end of the day too, like even regardless, everybody says that this game is circled on their calendar. This is going to be a fun game. It's not prime time, or I guess we could call it prime time. It's in one of the big slots for ABC. It's 11 o'clock kickoff. It's on a major network. All eyes are going to be on Wisconsin, Alabama. Same thing how it was with USC last year and some other games. So when we're on the big network, that's going to be fun too to get to see the Badgers here. So either way, I'm excited. Just hopefully it's not a massive embarrassment, because that's just what it felt like last year too when they were on the big noon, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I had the, I guess, pleasure and displeasure of going down to watch Wisconsin play USC last year, but it was awesome getting to see the Coliseum, getting to compare it to Camp Randall, getting to watch the Trojan stick his sword into midfield, watch the horse, what is his name, Traveler, I think is his name. Like, seeing all the pomp and circumstance surrounding USC was awesome. And even though they lost, and lost very painfully in that, it was still well worth it to go to USC. And I am absolutely fired up to go down to Tuscaloosa. I think the Badgers are going to win, personally. But even if they don't, I know it's going to be a memorable experience. I'm going to get to see what an SEC game day is like. I remember talking to a lot of Bama fans last year when they came up to Madison, and they all begrudgingly admitted, they're like, yeah, y'all got a pretty good campus up here. State Street's pretty solid. Like, yeah, it's good.
You got the southern accent down.
Yeah,
Have you been practicing this?
I try and work and be able to weave it in seamlessly. But, like, they came up here and got to see what we have to offer, and they appreciated it and thought it was cool. So I'm looking forward to getting to return the favor, so to speak, to Bama fans, and I'm the most interested in seeing when Wisconsin wins this Saturday.
Not if, but when.
The Alabama fans going to be as nice as they have been when they beat the Badgers? I just have a hunch that they're really nice when they win, but maybe not as courteous when they lose. So we'll see, but I'm fired up. It's going to be an awesome weekend, regardless.
I'm with you. Now we're going to move on to some audio here we have from the folks, Evan Cohen, Michelle Smallman, Chris Canty with Unsportsmanlike. That's here on ESPN Madison and across the ESPN networks weekday mornings. And they had a discussion, and Evan Cohen, a famous Wisconsin alum, took some offense to what Michelle Smallman had to say, but let's get into it.
No, but not only do you want to be
you
wanted.
don't think Illinois is a safety school for Northwestern?
No.
Wow.
Smalls.
So
Come on.
Evan, why would you say something like that?
Smalls.
No, not at all.
Why would you do
Illinois
that?
is a great school.
I didn't say it wasn't.
Illinois is a great school.
Didn't say it wasn't.
It has everything. It has academics. It has athletics. It has partying. It has everything. Beautiful campus. Beautiful facilities.
I can't believe you said that.
You know it is.
No, it's not.
You're the only. I mean,
I can't believe you said that.
Many. I will admit, at the time,
Wisconsin. He's not even in the mix, so he's got to throw
what are
shade
you
on
talking
those
about?
that
We're
are.
a way better academic. We're a way academic school than you are.
Oh, okay.
You don't think Wisconsin is better than Illinois?
They got a ton of CEOs, though.
Okay, let's.
CEOs for Fortune 500 companies.
Hold on,
Wisconsin has a ton of
research
CEOs.
is on it.
A lot to unpack there, Pablo. I didn't have a safety school. Full disclosure, I was, getting out of high school. So I started at Cal Pi High, which is Washington County, and then just worked my way to graduate at Florida Atlantic University. So I didn't have the luxury of having a safety school. Yeah, but I would say be careful with the shots because you can make a case for, let's say, people in Illinois. Honestly, the safety school if you're in Illinois, the safety school for Northwestern would probably be Wisconsin.
I think that'd be fair. I knew I did not have the grades to go after either Northwestern or Wisconsin, honestly, coming out of high school.
And I'm not talking about the overall experience. I'm just talking like if you're going to school for
pure
school.
Academic. I feel like Michigan's a better, as much as it pains me to say this, I feel like Wisconsin, if you want that true Big Ten party atmosphere, the whole enchilada, Wisconsin's more of a safety school for Michigan.
Yeah, I would say Minnesota's a safety school for Wisconsin.
Yes.
I knew a lot of people that went to Minnesota. And safety school is a little unfair, but because honestly, people I knew that went to Minnesota probably could have gotten into Wisconsin, but I also know a handful that didn't get in or got waitlisted to Wisconsin, just went to Minnesota. But I would say it's in large part because with Minnesota, it just seemed like you can have the ability to get away from home a little bit, which I get. Like if you're from like my girls, we live outside of Madison. If we stay here and they're graduating high school, I wouldn't begrudge them wanting to go to Minnesota or Northwestern just to get away from, their backyard. Mm-hmm. And so there's that aspect to it as well. I would honestly guess. So I think Evan's wrong on Northwestern being a safety, or Illinois being a safety school for Northwestern.
I don't know. I'm leaning a little towards that.
But
I
Illinois is so far south, it'd almost be more of for Mizzou. Like it's almost Missouri. Champaign, Illinois it could not be more and it might as well be in the middle of Wisconsin. Like it is farm country down there. It smells like manure down there.
Well, hey, well,
it does.
Urbana-Champaign's gone through some facelifts.
It's
changed
still,
a little bit.
But it's not.
I threw it down over there when I was in Peoria. Peoria was fun.
You can throw it down anywhere. I'm not saying you can't party somewhere. I'm just saying that Champaign geographically and mentally is so far from Chicago and Northwestern that I would say it's more of Nebraska, or maybe because that's also kind of a farm school, or Mizzou. Madison. Yeah, Madison might be a safety school for Michigan or Northwestern folks, depending on what experience you're looking for. But I don't think Illinois is a safety school for Northwestern. I think it's more of a safety school for.
I think if you're waitlisted,
it's so far south. You're in Mizzou.
Well, if you're waitlisted for Northwestern, thinking about that, I think you could either slide in potentially to Wisconsin, but for sure for Illinois. I mean, Illinois again too. Isn't too far off from the North. Wow, who would have thought that we would have been talking about the level of academic stature here on the jump around? I love it, but yeah, I would just I see a little bit of it where Northwestern, if you don't get in or you're waitlisted, Illinois, I think you could slide in and yeah, you'd call that a safety school. That's just where I'm at as an Illinois kid.
Illinois
is so far away.
Illinois is just an objectively worse school than almost every other Big Ten school, and I don't think it's particularly close. The campus sucks. I've driven through Champaign. Their sports are mediocre. When was the last time they won a national championship in anything? When is the last time they've been good? I mean, they've been good in basketball
recently. I did
recently.
not think I'd be defending Illinois here.
Bert Bielema is kind of bringing the football program back. What's great about Illinois? I can't find anything.
Where it's located, Illinois State. And then
Missouri, Normal, Illinois,
Purdue, Indiana, those geographically are closer to that's because I think that's part of the safety school part of it is where am I going geographically?
Yeah,
mm-hmm. And so I think that factors in because safety school is more of I'll probably end up closer to home and I'll probably maybe transfer out and it's a little bit more of I think the location matters in safety school, and that's why I think look it up on a map, and obviously you know it, but if you don't know, Champaign is very far from Chicago.
Yes,
it's about 2 hours.
I'll be going through Champaign on my way down to Tuscaloosa this weekend, and you get to Illinois, you're in Champaign pretty soon after you get through Illinois coming up. And you still have 3 hours left until Chicago. It's in the middle of nowhere. It sucks.
So mine's geographically is what I'm really getting at.
I'm not going to lie. I do not envy you for that drive because when I used to live in Peoria, I loved my time and everything over in Central Illinois. But also when I would drive up from Peoria, Central Illinois, over to Chicago when I'd visit home, that drive compared to Madison, even in the winter, is just way, way nicer. It's way more scenic even in the months that don't look the best.
Yeah, it's an easy drive, though. So I'm not too worried. It'll be fun. We're
you
stopping in
got 4
Nashville.
guys
Exactly.
I did this drive solo.
We'll have all the hype of anticipating the big upset this weekend. So it'll be easy. It'll be fun. And I'll sleep through Champaign, regardless of what time it is.
Hey, make sure I'll still give you some places to stop if you're looking for some places. Though we'll talk.
I appreciate
it,
but I think I'm good. But thank you.
All right, let's head to the portal.
It's time for the Badgers Twitter portal.
There's my favorite graphic.
There it is. All right, time to get into the Wisconsin Badgers Twitter portal. And let's start out with a voice, or a couple of voices, I should say, you might find familiar. I asked Luke Fickell a question at his press conference. It's getting a little bit of love recently. So here is the question that I asked head coach Luke Fickell about if his team, he feels that his team is ready for Alabama and the challenges on this schedule. Take a listen. Coach, you mentioned in your post-game press conference that at the moment you didn't feel this team was ready for the big games or the gauntlet coming up on the schedule. What needs to happen, whether it be this week at practice or this week at Alabama, for you to feel that this team is ready for the rest of the schedule?
Well, it doesn't matter how I feel. The truth of the matter is we got to get ready. And, all I can say is, from last week's performance, in particular in the first half, it just wasn't as clean as we needed to be for what we wanted. And I didn't say score more points. I didn't say get more stops. I didn't say get more turnovers. I just mean the fact of, hey, when we take the field, are we playing to the level at which we want to play and executing to the level at which we want to play? And that's where that whole idea of that mid-season form we wanted to be able to see. And we saw some things of that in game one. I don't know that we saw quite what we're talking about in game two. But that's where the process, that's where the journey, that's where every single week is about building and getting better. And so we'll be ready. I know that, mentally and physically, but we got to go out there and be able to execute and do the things that we expect to do. And so a lot of things go into that. I know it won't be a lack of preparation. It won't be a lack of focus. We've already talked about that. I mean, it's not like there's going to be some speech that needs to be had on a Tuesday to get guys fired up to prepare for this one. It's just the ability to say, hey, now when you get to that moment at 11 o'clock, can you have the calmness, can you have the patience about yourself to go out and execute like you have all week and you have all through fall camp, with the expectations that are in front of you.
All right, that's it. And just as proof, this is picked up by CBS sports writer Brad Crawford. I'm just flexing here. I was happy with the question. I was happy with how Luke Fickell answered it. So how do you guys feel about head coach Luke Fickell's answer to that question?
One, good question.
Thank you.
And then two, his answer got long. Mm-hmm. Honestly, he could have just stopped it. Doesn't really matter how I feel. But obviously, he was doing you a service and understanding the game of all right, other people had to write stories off of this. People need video clips to fill their news broadcasts. So he'll added more to it. But he said it all when he said it doesn't really matter how I feel. So great question, great answer. Luke's right. It doesn't matter anymore. I like that mentality of who cares what I feel? It doesn't. We have to go out and do it.
Mentally, I think this team is way more prepared than compared to last season. I think at least just from what I've picked up is that this team is from last week. They were able to hold themselves accountable. They were able to keep each other accountable and able to fix that in real time. Like you mentioned, Jim, they were able to shift around offensively too. Jeff Grimes came up with a great readjustment, but also from the locker room standpoint too, Danny O'Neil, this is just something that reminds me too. He said, play with more anger. That's what he told the locker room that's what he wanted guys to do. And if he's able, again, to say that, it just feels like, again, from the mentality standpoint, at least from the mental side of it, does that mean that they're going to go and pull this upset off in Tuscaloosa? No, that's not what I'm getting at, but more of just from a mental side. I think this team knows exactly what's ahead of them. They know how to they feel a lot more confident going into this game versus just feeling like that. Oh, snap. Oh, S word. The Alabama Crimson Tide are coming in. What's going to happen here? So that's where I feel like I think this team's a lot more mentally prepared.
Yeah, and I like what Michael Glenn just put in the YouTube chat. This is Fickell's Waterloo or his Alamo. If he wins this game, a lot of chatter dies down. If they get blown out class, just going to be some more gasoline on that fire.
The Alamo. Don't forget.
Now, remember the Alamo. Remember. All right. Yeah. Moving on.
Something like that.
To the second item from the Twitter portal. I don't know if you guys have seen this on Twitter. This is blowing up in college football circles.
I have. I actually haven't watched the video because I didn't want to subject myself to it, but now we are.
And now I have the video for you. There's been a lot of buzz about Haley Sawyer's AP poll. She's a beat reporter, and she's been taking some flack for ranking Florida above USF after USF upset Florida. And she's not the only one, but she is taking the brunt of the shrapnel right now. Take a listen to her response to getting the social media backlash.
But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't probably matter in the end. But I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it.
All right, so I feel bad for her because she's definitely not the only one with a bad AP poll this week or beyond. And I think it needs to be fixed. Do you guys have any ideas? How do we fix this? Who should get AP votes? Because it does matter.
Well, to a point. Like, if you're not a college football playoff team, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe what she was intimating there, of like Florida probably not going to be a college football team, USF too. So that's one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing also is to say, like, there's a case to be made just because USF beat Florida doesn't mean that they're better. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because they beat a ranked Boise State team too.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I can understand that argument too. Like, everyone just wants to immediately do that. That maybe not necessarily be the case. But I will say, she didn't do herself favor by doing the video, because now she's the one that has to be the bad person here, and she's not. As far as the ranking system, I think the only way to fix it, we talked about this yesterday in Jim, Matt, and Molly with the NFL. We do the power rankings, but they're innocuous, like it's just power rankings. They're stupid until at least week 4. And we don't know. We have no idea. I mean, we can assume the Packers are good and assume that the Vikings might be a pretty good team too, but we don't know for sure what it is. So in this case, when you're having a ranking system in college football and you're trying to rank top to bottom, it's all a little bit of guessing. So I would say just move it back. If you really wanted to make it work, move it back.
It is. It's just too early at this point. It's like when Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last year too. That was big. That was a huge upset. The Northern Illinois pulled off that upset at Notre Dame, but it's not like saying that we thought that Notre Dame played in the national championship game later on that season. So it was a good turnaround for them though too. But I think it's just too early to really say like, okay, this is what the rankings are going to look like for the rest of the year. I mean, hey, maybe right here, right now, because you beat that team, technically, yes, you are better than them, but it's just too early. It feels like for me. So I feel the pain, but I have no idea, honestly, how we could try to change that, to be totally honest.
I think that's a fair fix, waiting until a few weeks into the season. No AP polls release until week 4. And then you get the college football playoff, what is it, week 6, week 8, something? I don't know exactly, but I think that's fair. So last one real quick here. Just this is from an Alabama fan underneath an Alabama tweet. No hate for Wisconsin. They're not even on my radar. It was some Alabama account tweeted, Wisconsin hate week. Alabama throttled Wisconsin last year, 42-10. Buh. And this guy's like, I don't even hate Wisconsin. They're not even relevant. So what is, in your guys' lifetimes, the least relevant Wisconsin has been? Is this the least relevant nationally Wisconsin has been ever? Or since like a long time ago?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could say right before they won the Rose Bowl, because I lived in Wisconsin. What was it, 94 when they won the Rose Bowl?
Yes.
So I was 14. And I'll be honest, I probably was completely unaware that Wisconsin had a football team. Now, I live near Milwaukee, but Wisconsin had a college football team. It didn't register. My parents weren't watching Badger games. It's Packers, it's Bear. We were watching all that stuff. And I've shared that story before, that I kind of learned they had a team the Rose Bowl. My parents then had friends over, or they went to a friend's house, I can't remember, and we all watched the Rose Bowl together. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this, and got behind it all, and that was fun. So I would say that was when, at least in my lifetime, back in 93, 94, was probably when they were the least relevant. But right before they went to that, and obviously before that, there was a stagnant period, but because I think there's large parts of the states that was not aware that the Badgers had a football team. So I would say that was probably when they were the most irrelevant.
I was a pretty late bloomer, actually, into college football. So I just feel like, since I've been around it, I've known that Wisconsin historically has always been, because not to age too much, I was born just right after the Barry takeover. So even in my lifetime, I have just known, at least from this stretch, sans the Gary Anderson years, that Wisconsin has had very successful stretches. They have had very good teams. They've been known as this profound program. So honestly, I think just more from the chit chat that we've had probably amongst your friends, groups, whatever the case is that this team, not a lot of people know all of the players, or they could hardly name 5 players potentially. So I'd say right now, in terms of irrelevance, just because of the roster change and where we're at right now in college football, I feel like that you can make a good case that this year's team does feel like the most quote unquote irrelevant right now in terms of Wisconsin football.
Yeah, I mean it changes this weekend, so this is the last time we're gonna have to talk about this. But
this is where it blows up.
I was born in 2001, so this is the first time in my life that the Badgers haven't been relevant, which is wild. It's a different experience, so I wanted to get your guys' take. That's it for the Badgers Twitter portal.
Woo. All right, we'll get to Sojourn Shelton, in a second. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and Steinhafels is doing something really great with Special Spaces Wisconsin. All you have to do is stop in the Steinhafels this month and test any mattress. When you do, you'll get a $20 restaurant gift card. So it's dinner on them. And Steinhafels will also donate $20 to Special Spaces Wisconsin. They're an amazing charity that creates dream bedrooms for kids with cancer. Head to Steinhafels this September. Take a test rest, enjoy your night out, and help make a child's dream bedroom come true at Steinhafels.
At Steinhafels, we know your style isn't one size fits all. That's why during our Make It Your Own event, you can create furniture as unique as you are. Choose your fabric, select your finish, add the details that make it yours. And right now, save 10% store-wide. Plus, enjoy 18 months special financing with 0% interest. Steinhafels is Wisconsin's furniture and mattress leader. Relax, it's Steinhafels.
Mike's up.
And we are thrilled to be joined by Sojourn Shelton, first-team All-Big Ten, former Badgers cornerback in 2016. Sojourn, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And before we get into the Badgers, start to the season here, just want to refresh everyone a little bit about your history with the Badgers. Obviously, I believe you were a starter in your first year with Wisconsin. So why don't you start with that? What was that like getting on campus and being a rare thing at Wisconsin? I think you were the first player since Travis Frederick, who did it in 2009, to start and play that many games as a true freshman.
Yeah, it was cool. I still always remember back. Well, first, me and Keelan Brookins, we were able to come on campus early, and that early enrollee period in January, and I just got a chance to be around the guys and kind of gain their trust. I think that's a big part of when you're trying to play early, is gaining guys' trust. Guys like Chris Borland, guys like Bo Allen, guys like Des Southward, those guys that have been, wearing that motion W for a long time, and being able for them to feel that, they're comfortable with you out there as a freshman. So, for me, it was extremely fun. My mom was the one who broke the news to me. That was crazy. I didn't know, that Friday before the game, I didn't know if I was going to play at all, or start at least. And then, she kind of sent me a message of the depth chart, and I was like, I haven't heard anything, so just hold your horses. And it ended up being true. So, I was super thankful for that coaching staff. That was Coach Anderson, Coach Strickland, who, I still talk to every now and then here and there. Those guys for trusting in me, and then that ended up ultimately being a good year for me to start off as a Badger.
Sojourn, appreciate your time, man. Happy to have you here, and just wanted to, first off, with this being the jump around, we've been asking new guests coming around whether it was your first jump around experience or a favorite one that stuck out to you. Before we really get into the weeds in the conversation, which jump around stuck out to you?
I'm gonna go my last one there at Camp Randall. My last game at Camp Randall, we played in Minnesota. That was kind of a weird game because obviously being senior night, I think we were down like 17-3 or something going into halftime. And I could remember vividly being on the field right before the half, just thinking like, man, there's no way we go out like this, right? With a lot of things at stake. I think we knew already we were going to the Big Ten championship, regardless if we won or lost. But we were still in that position of, right, if we win this game, we go and we handle what we're supposed to do in Indy, we could maybe sneak into that playoff conversation. So I just remember being out there and just like, there's no way I'm going to lose like this, in my last time here at Camp Randall. And we ultimately, coming out at halftime, end up, coming back. A lot of guys caught picks. We made a lot of plays. And just that last jump around, just seeing it like that and then taking it in for that last very time, I think that's something that's underrated. While you're there on campus, right? When you're a freshman, you think you have so long, and then you blink and it's like, this is my last one, in college. And so I just always, when I think of the jump around, I just think of that last one in that moment for me. That'll always stick with me for the rest of my life.
As we get to the Badgers currently on the field, obviously not a lot of familiar faces from your time here, which is unique because back in the day, Wisconsin was very good at bringing a lot of players back and keeping them around. And I think Coach Fickell has recognized that, has maybe trying to do more of that over the next few years. Yeah. But as that kind of grows, the defense looks a little different as well. As a corner, as you look at this defense, and even compared to last year, it looks like it's a little more aggressive. Looks like they've got bigger bodies up front to kind of, maybe they got caught up trying to beat the Oregon Ducks and forgot you also have to beat Minnesota. So they think the recruiting got a little bit like, hey, we got to get bulkier up front. But it does seem like first two games in, the defense, obviously all of the Miami of Ohio game and the second half of the Middle Tennessee State game has really been on point early.
Yeah, and I think that was a key emphasis, obviously, for this offseason with them trying to kind of revamp a little bit of things. Like you said, looking like Oregon a little bit last year with a lot of speed, and then understanding that it's still the Big Ten, right? You still got to play Iowa. You still got to play Minnesota. You got to be able to beef up but also be able to get to the quarterback. And so far, Rush has been doing that. Like, that's been a key thing that's popping off so far this season with these first two games is we're able to get pressure. And, if anybody knows football, starting up front is where you got to be able to win that, because that's going to relieve some of the pressure on the back end. That's going to give, guys like Rico and Preston in the back end to be able to be aggressive and make plays, because when pressure is on the quarterback, that's when those air throws or those mistakes happen. And when we do get those opportunities, we got to be able to capitalize them, which I think, so far we've been doing. I think what Preston had 2 picks. Last week I want to say 2 picks. Like those are the type of plays those are the type of plays we're gonna continue to have to make. And when we get those opportunities to take us forward throughout the season.
Coming into the third season for Luke Fickell, too, I know towards the end of last season you mentioned this on a different podcast, saying that things need to change a little bit for Wisconsin. I think we all understand that. What have you seen? And it's only been 2 weeks into this season and third season for the third year for Luke Fickell, but out of these first 2 weeks, what have you seen? Have you noticed any changes in difference for this team compared to the last 2?
I just think aggressiveness on defense, right? Like we just talked about it. The D line, it just seemed like they got a little bit more pep in their step, and they're humming and getting after the quarterback. And then on offense, just being balanced. I know last year it was kind of like this whole air raid thing, which I think a lot of teams in college football are moving to. But I think we just need to stay to our roots. Like, it's no problem being able to mix it up and throw the ball, but what have we been known for all our lives at Wisconsin? Being able to handle the trenches up front and run the ball. And I think that is our game, that being able to control the clock, being able to, put teams in a lot of situations where you're going to have to go out and win a 21-14 game. A lot of people don't want to be in that type of pressure because in that moment, you can't make as many mistakes that you make when you're able to go out there and just sling the ball around and you have all this time on the clock versus when you play a team that can kind of control the clock, that puts pressure on you. So I just think balance on offense, being able to run the ball. We've run the ball really effective here. And then also we've been able to get guys like Vinny and Tretch the ball on the outsides and just be able to keep defenses honest. So I don't want to jump the gun because it's Middle Tennessee, and again, it's college football. Every game is hard to win. You go out there, you win and play the game, but you play the game to win it. But now we're gonna start to see, right, with these games coming up, starting this week coming with Alabama, where have we made strides in this offseason with the program?
Yeah, and this Bama game is something I think a lot of people will be excited about. I know a lot of fans are going down there almost just regardless of optimism for being able to win the game, but they are excited about being to face Alabama. And this is something that is unique, but it is special for the Badgers.
Nah, of course. I mean, and Alabama, us going to Bama, right? Like when I was playing, and even years previously before, it was always at neutral site games, right? Like you would play a team like this in Dallas or somewhere in Atlanta. I think this is what college football is all about, right? Teams being able to go to opposing. Like, I don't think anybody in a million years would have imagined Wisconsin having to go to Tuscaloosa, right? We know that's a tough place to play at. And then even last year, them coming to us. So I think it's an extremely dope opportunity for, our players that are there now. And again, go in there and just handle business as much as you can, right? Like however things go. Of course, like I said earlier, you play to win the game, but we got to go out there and show that the improvements were made this offseason. And it's going to be a tough environment to play at, right? Like a lot of people say it's extremely loud. It's a lot going on in Alabama right now with their program and them taking a loss early in the year to Florida State. So it's going to be hostile, and that's what you come to college football for, to play in those type of environments. So just have fun this weekend, fellas. That would be my message to them, man. Just have fun.
Yeah, I know it was a neutral site for you guys when you guys had played, but still, just the vibe of what the Crimson Tide fans brought along, what the Wisconsin fans brought along, just that whole experience too. What did you see from the Alabama side too that challenged you guys? That was just we know what Alabama football is, whether it's Nick Saban or beyond that from here. But what was your experience just getting to see Alabama football on that other side with the fans, with the players, all that when you guys went against them?
You know what a national championship team looked like. Right, like, and then, to be honest, that year, if I'm not mistaken, they went and beat Clemson in the national championship, and they had Derrick Henry, who was a Heisman winner, obviously first round pick, Calvin Ridley on the outside, who was still in the NFL. So many guys off that NFL roster, and then you switch to the defense side. I mean, we talking about though at that time, like maybe being one of the best defenses that has ever come through college football in a long, long time. Like everybody on that team, if I'm not mistaken, went, pretty much like between 1 and 3 as far as rounds and draft picks. So it was a fun experience, right? Like I know for myself, I've dreamt of playing college football my whole life, and when you see teams like USC back then, Texas back then, as I've grown, Alabama, LSU, right? Those are the teams that were winning the national championships. To be able to go against a national championship team and kind of stack and see where you're at against them is always the perfect opportunity.
You mentioned Derrick Henry, and I got to ask, he's only gotten bigger and stronger. What was it like seeing him in college?
So my fault to cut you off, Jim. But I knew Derrick before Alabama, because we're both from down here in Florida, and 7-on-7, all the opening camps and all that stuff like that. So I had ran into him a good amount of times before we played that game in 2015. And it was, he's, to me, like you said, he's always been massive, and then it just kept seeming like he got bigger and bigger. But I think for us, it was a good opportunity because we knew what a Heisman back looked like, right? Like we could say the year before Mel, if it wasn't for Mariota having one of the best college football years ever, Melvin probably wins the Heisman that year. So we knew what a Heisman back was like to practice against. And then, here it is the following year, right? We faced one in game one. Again, you go out there and you just try to play your best ball. You try to, do everything that you've gone over in at that time, fall camp and film watching. And again, special dude, good player. And you see why he continues to do what he's doing on Sundays right now in the NFL. So shouts out to D Ham for sure.
It's going to be a big challenge for this crew too. But again, going into this, we've talked with past Badgers too, and saying that it doesn't matter. And even Barry Alvarez even saying this yesterday. It's about the dogs in the fight. Go out there and fight. Go out there and throw some punches. Not literally, figuratively, of course. No, we don't want anything going crazy out there. But no, it's about that fight. Again, in situations where you guys felt like you were counted out, where you had that chip on your shoulder. What you mentioned to the guys too. Hey, go out there and have fun. But what's your mindset? When in these moments when national pundits have been writing you guys off, where do you go? How do you carry yourself into these types of games?
Again, like I said, this is what you come to college football for, right? Like anytime that I could think of, as far as like teams being written off, I always go back to that 2016 team, right? Out the gate, we played at LSU. And a team that was top 5, and a lot of people had, playoff and championship, aspirations for that team. And that is what it feels like to be written off right away. Like you got a team coming from, Louisiana, coming to our backyard, and you got everybody picking LSU. So I just think it's a mindset, right? And I think, Wisconsin, we've always had that mindset where we're going to go in and we just go, we're going to fight down to the last breath. And this is another opportunity, right? But with this opportunity, we're going on the road. Again, very hostile environment. We hear about how tough it is to play at Tuscaloosa. I think I was talking to somebody earlier. It says it's going to be in the 90s, upper 90s as far as heat out there. So, guys, you got to be able to take care of your body, stay hydrated, and understand that it's going to be a 4-quarter game. Because I do feel like this is a Alabama team that can be beaten, right? And more so than ever, right? I don't think we've ever seen Alabama defense get bullied around the way they did against Florida State in the run game specifically. So if we can kind of apply that to our DNA, which is that is what we're made of. We run the ball well. We got to go in there with that mindset that we can go in there and move these guys, and our RBs got to be able to, just take what the defense gives us.
Yeah, with the running the football, it seems like Jeff Grimes has gotten back a little bit, and obviously been a defensive guy, but the run hopefully will continue to set up the pass and allow the Badgers to continue to take some big shots down the field. But whether it's your perspectives watching the offense in general or as a defensive guy, like how important is it for a team like Wisconsin to establish the run, to be able to pull off an upset, to kind of create more of an old school trick as far as like getting the defense eyes moving in different directions or getting them to hesitate for a second?
Well, I think that's one of the most important things in in football in general is just being able to establish the run, because if you establish the run, you're able to put the defense on their toes as far as to guessing if it's play action or if it's if it's pass or if it's run. I think when you become one dimensional, where if you're just throwing the ball or if you're just running the ball, defenses can easily counterpunch those things. So for us, I know that we've been trying to be more balanced. We've been trying to attack guys in the pass game or, with jet sweeps, which we've done these first 2 weeks. I think we have to stay honest to that. But with being honest to that, you have to establish the run game. And that's what we're known for. So if we can get guys to kind of bring more people into the box, that gives guys like Vinny, who's going to be special, right, who's been making the plays, that gives guys like him the opportunity to see one-on-ones. And at that point, I just got to put my trust in you that my guy is better than your guy. And again, it's Alabama. We know that they got all these top, corners and, players in the country. But at the same time, those guys put on their pads and their pants just like we do. And, hey, Vinny, go out there and win, bro. This is the perfect opportunity. Like, when we think of going to the next level and playing in the NFL, these are the guys that you're going to be seeing. These are the guys that are going to be top players in the draft. Man, go out there and make you some money, man, and win them one-on-ones.
Totally agree that the run game definitely opens up a whole bunch of things for this Wisconsin team across the board. So, hey, if you want to use that one as one of the things, I want to know 3 points. This is the final thing that I would like to know. 3 things that Wisconsin needs to do this week, in your mind, to pull off this upset. You mentioned the run game. We could use that as one. 2 more. What else you got?
Yeah, so I was going to say, I don't know if we want to put our offensive line bullying and winning up front as one, so we could put that in the run game. Cause a turnover on defense, and we got to be able to hit 1 or 2 shots, bro. And it's like 1 or 2 shots in this game that's gonna really change the field, because I think both teams are gonna go out there and play good defense. We're both known for that, but at the same time, field position is gonna be so important in this game. You're gonna need a big play. You're gonna need 2 or 3 big plays to change the field position and give your defense the opportunity to stop, Bama from, driving the distance. I know I'm not really a big analytics guy, but I know a lot of analytics say, it's the percentages go real low if you driving the whole field, well, real high with you driving the whole field as you get, closer and closer to your end zone. So I just think we got to go out there and play, solid defense, cause a turnover or 2, and win some shots down the field.
Before I let you go, what have you been up to? It's been a little bit since Badger fans have heard your name and everything. Where can they find you? What have you been up to?
So I don't know if a lot of people know, but me, James, and Warren, we started a podcast called the Money Down Podcast, where we just talk all things sports, right? Whether it's college football, whether it's the NFL, what's going on around and basketball, everything. But it's been super, super fun. We've been enjoying it. We got Perk, who's our producer. He runs another Wisconsin show, I think, as well. But us just being truly best friends, we've been friends since forever, since my freshman year when I was there and those guys were older. And I think we find it therapeutic, man, to just be able to sit there and talk about, the things that we love. Again, like I said, best friends, we talk all day. I was talking to them before this. And, us just getting a chance to be in front of a mic and a platform and teach football and talk about it from our perspective, right? Like, even from here, talking with you guys, you could tell you guys know ball. And I think that's what it is, to just keep putting out content and, pods where fans can actually get real insight of, how ball players think.
So I got one more for you. I noticed right behind you, you got a huge shoe collection. I'm a big sneakerhead. I'm wearing some Kobe's right now. Jim's a huge sneakerhead too. I got to ask you, out of all the pairs,
football dunks arriving today.
Woo!
Like a football.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're arriving today. I wish they were here. I was trying to see if the mailman would come and I could show them off, but they're not here yet.
So I wanted to ask you, why I would love to show off my Kobe's. I probably got to clean them and scrub them down a little bit. They've seen its better days. But anyway.
That's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to wear them. Wear your kicks.
That's true. These are comfortable, too. Not to try to get too much free pub out there on these Kobe's. But anyway, behind you, what is the favorite pair that you like to rock? I noticed you got a huge collection right behind you.
So I got shoes back here. I got shoes upstairs. My favorite pair to rock just day to day, and I know he's been in the media for wrong reasons, but I love to rock the Easy Runners, just like as a comfortable shoe. But my favorite shoe back there in that wall, I would say, is the Flint 13s. And the story behind that is I remember being in fourth grade. The Flint 13s and a pair of Jordan 20s came out. And my dad made me pick a pair. And I picked the Jordan 20s. And later on, like I just fell in love with the Flint 13s. And I was like, man, why did I not pick that shoe? So every time it comes out, I gotta, regardless of I got a pair down here, I got 2 pairs upstairs. Whenever that shoe comes out, I gotta buy it because it's my favorite color, that blue and gray, and then that story behind it. So, but it just depends, man. You guys know if you rock shoes, depends on the weather and the day you get up. You might feel like rocking this, and you know what? Just grab this on the way out. Like it just all depends. But it's a huge sneaker fan, and you know I love that you guys are wearing y'all kicks. They're not made to just sit in a box and just wear your shoes, man. Wear your shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that mentality. I used to go, I'm the old guy that, I wanted all these shoes when I was younger and I couldn't get them all. Like my parents bought me one pair of shoes, weren't going to buy me Jordans or whatever. Now it's like, all right, I can buy the Jordans. And you know what? With the Jordan side of it, there's a lot of red and white. So a lot of stuff you can wear for Badger related everything too. That does overlap. So, Sojourn, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up on what you've been up to and give us your insight on the Wisconsin Badgers.
No problem. Appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you, guys.
This is the Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show on ESPN Madison's YouTube stream and streaming on the ESPN Wisconsin app.